How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
Introducing the new Volvo XC90 with 7-seat versatility, Google built-in, and advanced safety features for all your precious cargo. The new Volvo XC90, designed for life. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more.
This summer, try the new Strato Frappuccino blended beverage at Starbucks. It's the classic blended iced coffee you know and love, now topped with a creamy layer of handcrafted brown sugar cold foam. Available for a limited time. Your Strato Frappuccino is ready at Starbucks.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We are so excited to bring you this show.
Our podcast is all about unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed games. Each episode will be talking about a different topic in the Assassin's Creed universe. From Pieces of Eden, solar flares, and the Isu, to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus, we will seek to uncover it all.
So join us and maybe even take a leap of faith.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby. You also know me as She-Cup, and I'm here with my co-host today.
Hey, I am Austin, also known as Teacup.
That you are, and we are back with another character deep dive, which I will be honest, I can't remember the last time we did a character deep dive over like one of the protagonists.
It's been a long time. The closest character deep dive that we've gotten to is probably Leonardo da Vinci when we covered him. But this season has kind of been it's structured very similarly to character deep dives. But I just felt like let's get into an actual character. We'll get back to some more historical discussion about people soon. Or next week.
True. It's also very topical with the Portuguese are in this game and in Shadows, but also the rumors of a Black Flag remake are ever present.
So we are talking about Edward Kenway today, which is the last Kenway that we have to talk about. Well, I guess we have Jennifer Scott. We could talk about her, but there's not a lot. Sounds
like we probably won't.
There's not. I don't know if she has enough for a character deep dive. But so Edward Kenway, who is the protagonist, as Shelby said, of AC Black Flag. We're just going to go over a quick little overview and then talk about his involvement, and then we'll talk about some quotes. But in the mid-break, we will have a little bit of a discussion around the recent Shadows news that has come out. So if you're looking for some of that information because you don't want to watch their YouTube video, then stay around for the mid-break because we'll talk about it then. So we'll just dive right in. So he is born on March 10th, 1693, which is 7 days before my birthday, he is really close to almost being exactly 300 years older than me.
Yeah, like 7 days and 299 years older than you.
Yeah. Well, so in a year. So he's 300. He's like
301.
He's 307 days or something like that.
Okay, whatever it is.
But
I'm bad at math, people.
Yeah. So he's from Wales, which I think is interesting because a lot of people consider him an English assassin, and he is part of the British Brotherhood. But I will note for our Welsh people who listen, because I know that some of you are bound to exist, people from Wales do not consider themselves English. They might consider themselves British, might, but they are Welsh before they are anything else.
Same for Scotland.
And Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ireland is a whole separate island from England, Scotland, and Wales.
And Ireland, the country, is a separate country. Only Northern Ireland is part of the UK.
Right. But that didn't exist back then.
But so this is important that he is Welsh, and I guarantee if you asked him, he would say that he is Welsh. I think in the game he refers to himself as a Welshman.
I don't remember. Yeah. Just going to be honest.
This is an interesting fact that I didn't know. He did have an older sister who died during infancy. So I guess he didn't really know her unless they were really close, like almost Irish twins.
Well, even if they were Irish twins, he still wouldn't have remembered her if she died in infancy.
Right. He was the son of two farmers, and the farm life was not great for Edward, and he was known as a troublemaker in his teens. Who is surprised?
Not me.
At 17, he met Caroline Scott when she intervened on his behalf as he was defending the Scott family maid from being raped. So that's how he meets Caroline Scott. Edward fell in love with Caroline at first sight. And though she wouldn't really meet with him or talk with him because she was already engaged to Matthew Haig, she's like, no, I'm already engaged to this, and my father will not, I can't marry a commoner. My father's not going to be okay with me marrying a commoner. So Edward eventually wins her over by defending a pickpocket from being beaten to death. So basically hoping to attract her attention, Edward recruits this young street urchin named Albert to present Caroline with a bouquet on his behalf. Basically, Edward realizes too late that Albert is a pickpocket, and instead of giving the flowers, he tries to steal Caroline's purse. So Edward tries to stop Albert as he successfully steals from Caroline, but in the process, she's noticed by her fiancé, Matthew, and his bodyguard, Wilson, who caught the criminal and proceeded to beat him. Edward subdued Wilson before forcing Albert to apologize. Drawn to basically how fearless and brave Edward is, Caroline meets Edward at night outside Edward's house.
Controversial.
Mm-hmm. Very
risque.
Yes. Despite her father's adamant disapproval, Caroline marries Edward in 1712. Her father then disowned her and refused to provide a dowry. Now, I want to pause here because Edward does a lot of screwed up things. Playing loose with slavery and his own chase for wealth does a lot. What he does to Caroline Scott is one of his irredeemable things that he does. He basically charms this girl into marrying him because he loves her so much. Her father disowns her and refuses to pay a dowry, which some of you, if you don't know, this could be a death sentence for a woman in a thing. It basically means that she comes with nothing to the marriage. Nothing, no inheritance, no station, no even supplies to run a household. Anything that she would have inherited from her mother was forfeited.
Right. If he's depriving her of the dowry, that also means he's probably depriving her of her hope chest or trousseau. There are different words for it, but the embroidery pieces she would have made for the household, or the linens, or the heirloom candlesticks that they passed down, those kinds of things that you would have needed to set up a household, and that also could have been sold for money if you came on hard times. She probably didn't get any of that either.
Exactly. And this is a big deal. And for a woman to take this risk for love was huge. And I remember one of my favorite book series is The Inheritance Cycle, and a similar thing happens with one of the main characters and the POV characters. And one of the women in the villages basically takes him aside and is like, you better have meant every single word you said to that girl, because if you don't, she will become the meanest person in the entire world, and I will I will exile you from the town, and if not, we will kill you if you did not mean this.
Because you're basically taking a person that's already vulnerable and making them more vulnerable. That's what you're doing, and taking away any like resource that they have to make things better. And I think we don't often understand this in our society because like we just don't have like we don't live in this situation anymore, right? And so it's really hard to compare, but like she would have had, like she couldn't have gone out and gotten a job, or at least not a good one. Like sure, she maybe could have become a prostitute or a washerwoman, but like that's not going to pay the bills and help you really get ahead in life. That's just going to put you further down into poverty, most likely.
And so if you're unfamiliar with the game, Edward basically abandons her after this. It's a while after that, but, you know, he becomes a privateer, and we'll get to that. And then he just basically forgets about her and goes into the pirate life. And he
abandons her.
He abandons her, and to do that to a woman who has now lost her dowry is pretty heartless on
and
Edward's.
I mean, even without the context of losing the dowry, to do that to a woman we're talking about the late 1600s, early 1700s. Like, literally, she would have had no recourse. Like, she doesn't have rights. She can't own property. She can't, like, go out and get a degree. Like, we talk about moving backwards in our society, but, like, we can still move forward and make a way in society. She would not have been able to do this unless she went back to her father.
Yeah. And we'll talk about this in a minute. But basically, deprived of the Scots' wealth, Caroline and Edward settle into a farm where Edward's parents, who quickly became fond of Edward's young wife, Caroline, and she does her best to acclimate herself to the new life. But Edward is not satisfied. Edward is dissatisfied with his life as a farmer and his inability to offer a privileged life to his wife. Now, I want to pause here and just say, like, Edward guises this as he wants to provide a better life for Caroline. But at this point in the story, and this is integral to Edward's character and understanding him, he wants a better life for himself. And he's providing it for Caroline as an excuse. As an excuse. Like, he wants to make a name for himself. It's not that he wants to benefit from wealth. He wants to acclimate it himself. He wants it through his own means. He wants to earn it himself or steal it himself, as we'll later learn.
But it kind of honestly seems to me like, sure, maybe he really did love this girl. Maybe he really did care for her at the beginning. But it also seems to me that, like, okay, once you got to know her, once you found out who she was a little bit, it seems like he thought, oh, well, we'll just get married and we'll be wealthy because your family's wealthy and our lives will be great and perfect. And when that didn't turn out, he bailed.
Yeah. So this frustration, we're told he failed to meet his marital obligations. We obviously know that, like, I don't know, this doesn't mean that the marriage wasn't consummated because Jennifer Scott exists. So we know at some point the marriage was consummated.
Well, don't we see scenes of them in the game, flashbacks too?
Yes.
Of them hooking up?
Maybe I can't remember. So basically, Edward then basically spends all his time at the taverns. He basically becomes a drunk. Basically, afterwards, Caroline's father pays a visit to Edward and offers him to come work for him. The Scott family is a noble family within the East Empire Trading Company.
So they got bukus of money.
They got money. And, like, so he could basically, if he works for Caroline's father, he could be set for life. And he basically says no to this. And this is more about like he wants to do it himself. And he basically says that he's going to try to make his fortune as a privateer in the West Indies and promised not to return to England until he became rich. So basically he's like, I'm going to go be a privateer, which if you're confused, a privateer is basically like a mercenary on a trading vessel or something like that. So like if you're serving on an HMS ship, which is like Her Majesty's service or His Majesty's service, depending on if your reigning monarch is a king or queen, that's what that means. Those are like Royal Navy ships. He would be serving on more like trading vessels, like someone who hires to protect these trading vessels from pirates. So that's what he's going to do. Caroline's father wants this marriage to end, and Edward uses this to his advantage and points out that he's probably going to die on this journey, and basically making Caroline a widow. And if she's a widow, it makes it easier for her to be married again. A divorce, even at this time, it's important to note that like divorce would be allowed under the Church of England, but it's not ideal.
She still would have been outcast from the high society.
Yes, but a widow is, after an appropriate mourning time, could marry again. And basically that he says to her, this is all in a flashback in the game, he says to Caroline's father, basically, you can use this time to turn her against me anyway.
Which is just so like pessimistic is maybe the word I'm looking for here, because it's like, well, you say you loved her. Why are you giving up so easily?
Right. Edward is probably like Ezio, for a comparison. Ezio is youthful, brash, and impulsive. Edward is childish.
I think that's a really good comparison.
Edward very much into, and I love where Edward ends up. But young Edward and early game Edward is a frustrating character to play because he is childish and naive, and he is so focused on wealth and material gains that he is really willing to hurt anyone to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And he does not think about the consequences of his actions.
I think that's more the thing that I have is like, he doesn't think about how his actions will affect anybody around him. And almost all of the other protagonists that we've seen up to that point, and honestly, most of the ones that come after him, with a few notable exceptions, they have never had the luxury of that.
Mm-hmm.
They have always had to think about the consequences of their actions, or from a young age, they've seen the consequences, how the consequences of somebody else's actions destroy their own lives.
Yes. And that is the point of like Ezio and Edward kind of end up in the same place maturity wise, I would say. But Ezio gets there faster than Edward does.
And that's why I think Ezio will always be more iconic than Edward, because he matures much faster, because kind of he has to. And also because he has so much longer to build his brotherhood.
Mm-hmm. And I think like if Edward existed in our time right now, he would very much remind me of someone who says like, you know, I don't vote because the system's rigged against me. And, you know, like I don't want to take any actual social responsibility to change, even though I'm upset about
what's going on. Yeah, fair.
But anyway, so her father agrees to the offer, and he tells Caroline that he left, and then Caroline leaves the farm and returns to her father's home, basically angry with Edward. So then Caroline's father sends Wilson and some members of the trade organization that he oversaw to set fire to the Kenway's farm while his parents were sleeping inside. And in order to prevent Caroline from ever going back to them. So, like, her dad is a bad guy.
Well, yeah, we knew that her dad was a bad guy when he deprived her of her dowry for marrying somebody that wasn't a noble. Like, he's never been a good guy. But this is also heinous. Like, why do you think that you're so much better than this peasant farmer guy who's making bad decisions and probably stepping out on your daughter, when you're just going to violently murder his parents?
Yes.
For no reason at all, when they're probably the only reason why your daughter's still alive and not destitute.
Yes.
Craziness. They're on the same level, in my opinion.
Uh-huh. And so Edward, unfortunately for his parents, Edward's departure is delayed, and he sees this happen. And he's able to intervene and save his parents and try to track down the arsonist. He's basically knocked out by Wilson, and who basically come to the point that his parents are going to be harmed unless he respects his pact with Caroline's father.
But they were going to be harmed no matter what.
Right, but like Wilson's basically like, you've saved them, but they're going to be, worse is going to happen if you try to like do anything else. And so, but even given this, Edward's father disowns him for all the trouble he had brought upon the family, which like...
Fair.
You know...
Honestly, fair.
Right. Edward then departs England for the Caribbean. And I think this is a point to like start, because we've caught up to like where we see him in the game. Like this is basically, this point is where we kind of, a couple months or whatever after this is where we see him in the game.
Mm-hmm. So mid-break time?
Mid-break time.
All right, well, let's head on over.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
You set the table, put on a playlist, even made the lasagna from scratch. And now you're wearing it. OxyClean Max Force Spray tackles tough, set-in stains the first time. Adulting is hard. Fighting stains shouldn't be. OxyClean Max Force. It's not clean unless it's OxyClean.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtual Coffee Machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your virtual pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot a flying demon!
Quite a carriage you got there. Where did you buy it, if you don't mind me asking?
Ask all you want, Freddy. You'll never get an answer.
Damn it all. Was it my eyebrows?
Yes, and your face, voice, and body.
What have you done? We used them. They were not ready for firing. You could have gotten us all killed. Let me see. His breath is more fatal than our cannons. Only when you two fools are shooting them. There, try it.
All right, so welcome to the middle of the show. This is where we take time to do all the things that have to do with the lorecast and not the lore of Assassin's Creed. So the first thing that we always do in our mid-break is shout out to all of our patrons. Thank you all so much for your financial support. This is the best way to support the podcast, and you can join us at patreon.com/ACLorecast. We've got a lot of really awesome merch that we're sending out this year. If you haven't heard, we're sending out merch 4 times this year instead of just twice. So we've upgraded our merch categories. So definitely check it out if you're interested. Now, the next best way to support us is to leave us a rating or a review or a comment with some kind words that we can share with our followers. And so I do have one to read today. This one comes from Spotify, from Lemon Tart, who commented on the Oda Nobunaga episode and said, 5 stars, one of my favorite podcasts. Great for people who can't afford all the pieces of media that AC has to offer. Both this and the DA Lorecast have such different but similar feels to them. DA is like sitting around the campfire, exchanging ideas, while this is more like a report from a kinder Sean Hastings. Thank you so much for bringing this to us and sharing positivity and love despite it being a game about death, loss, and betrayal. If only I had more letters available to praise you. Thank you so much for that super kind and just wonderful review. We appreciate it so much. And then the next to last thing that I want to talk about is our Discord server. It's a great place to be if you want to come gush about Shadows or criticize Shadows or talk about any Assassin's Creed game that's out there. The Discord server is the place to be, and you can find a link in the episode description. Now, Shadows update is next and last for the mid-break today, and we do have kind of two separate subjects for this, which the first is my playthrough update. And I am enjoying it, still playing it. I think I'm about 25 hours in so far. Maybe a little bit more than that. I don't know. Anyway, I have both Yasuke and Naoe, continued all of that. I'm just kind of wandering around doing stuff. I've killed like 2 of the, I don't know, one's called like the Twisted Tree and then one's called some other.
The objective boards.
Yes, thank you. And there's another one that I've taken out all of them for. And I just took out another one of the Shimbakufu. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not good at that kind of stuff.
Shimbakufu.
But yeah, so I'm just chugging along. It's great. I don't really have anything else to add after last week's episode, though. So I will turn it over to Austin for the updates from Ubisoft.
Yeah, so we got a kind of year ahead. I almost said the road ahead, which was a mobile game Shelby and I used to play. They used to publish a road ahead all the time. But we kind of got this year map kind of going out that basically talks about all the stuff that is coming to Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I just want to talk about a couple of things that are big from that. So there's a lot that they talked about in detail. So if you want more detail, definitely go watch the YouTube video or read the link to the report that they shared that kind of sums all this up. But there are 3 big things that I want to talk about that I think are really, really important for the future of Shadows. The first is that there will be paid DLC. We knew this from the point. If you pre-ordered the game, the first thing is free. But it also, from what they said, is that this will not be integral story DLC. Like, this will be like kind of offshoot side stuff that you can do that's going to be more expansions. Kind of similar to, like, I would put it like Siege of Paris or Wrath of the Druids, where like those are not integral to the main story of Valhalla. They are stories within themselves and they're large expansions that are probably worth the price tag. But they're not like the game isn't unfinished without these DLCs. We're not in a Dragon Age Inquisition Trespasser situation.
Off topic, Wrath of the Druids DLC was so freaking good.
It was. It's my favorite. You didn't
like both of them.
Yeah,
I
didn't finish Siege of Paris.
I did not finish Paris, and I played about 10 minutes of the other one,
Dawn of Ragnarok.
Yeah, and was like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
and gave
the
up.
Siege of Paris is really good. But then, so with that being said, we will also get a lot of free story content is what they said. A lot of points where we're going to get updated like kind of missions that dive into multiple characters that expand the actual story of AC Shadows from what I understood. The first one will be focused on Louis Froy, which hopefully will give us maybe some Templar wrap up because he's not a Templar himself, but like spoiler alert, he kind of has some knowledge of that. And so maybe that would expand that kind of stuff. So who knows? That's just a theory. Don't take that for fact. The other is we're getting a new game plus that will increase the level cap. So I expect this to be sort of similar to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which the loot system is very similar to Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I just have to say, I'm shocked they're bringing it back. After Mirage and Valhalla didn't have new game plus.
Mirage has one.
They did, but it was there was some drama with that, wasn't there?
No, it just was like it was pretty well done because you can basically skip the intro part where you play as like Basm as not an assassin.
Okay, well maybe I'm just thinking of Valhalla then. Mm-hmm. But I know they got a lot of heat for not having it in Valhalla, but
part of the reason that Valhalla didn't get a new game plus is because the areas are meant to be explored in a specific order.
Yeah.
And the loot is stationary. Like there's always the same item in the same area. Whereas with Odyssey, if you did a new game plus and went to a legendary item location and got it, it either upgraded for free the legendary item to your level, and if you were at max level, it just gave you a random piece of non-legendary gear. So, like, I assume that that's what the new game plus is going to be like for this.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
And then lastly is a couple of parkour updates that we're going to get. We are going to get a side eject and back eject in parkour, which is really, really great, especially for assassinations and being able to kind of refine the climbing system, because I think the rooftop exploration and like climbing and jumping from rooftops is really, really good. The climbing up things is not as great. I find myself often just saying screw it and using the grappling hook anyway.
Me too. I'm really struggling with that part of it all.
But that's all I got for the Shadows update.
All right. Well, quick question for you before we get back into it. Do we have dates for any of these updates?
It's if they do, they're in the document, but I didn't look.
So we're not sure. All right.
Not sure. Yeah.
No worries. All right. Well, let's get back into Edward.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Love espresso, drip coffee, and cold brew? With the Ninja Luxe Cafe, if you can crave it, you can brew it. Espresso, balanced. Drip coffee, rich. Cold brew in a flash. With Barista Assist technology, you brew with no stress and no guesswork, and make perfect silky microfoam hands-free from dairy or plant-based milks. Shop the Ninja Luxe Cafe at ninjakitchen.com.
Malaka. But that madman, the self-proclaimed Bishop of the Ruins, is our biggest critic. He calls our playing the devil's bagpipes.
I will sleep with anyone as long as they agree to be executed in the morning.
Like Xantivis.
He was well satisfied with his bargain. Who is this toothsome fellow?
My queen, this is,
Well?
It is a generous offer, but I've already pledged my life to this woman.
Aya, you have chosen well.
All right, so game involvement and his legacy. So as we said, he's the main protagonist of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. If you want to see him and what he's in a couple comics too that you can read if you want to do that, and the Assassin's Creed Black Flag novelization. But that's his main game. That's where you see most of his characterization is in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. He eventually does leave the pirate's life and join the Assassins. I don't want to spoil too much of the game, especially if you're new to Assassin's Creed and haven't played it. But basically, he does join the Assassins eventually after a lot of hardship and growth for Edward. He finally comes to a point of the Assassins. He returns to England after discovering his daughter, Jennifer Scott, who never takes the Kenway name. She only ever uses her mother's surname.
I don't blame her. I wouldn't either.
And she's a little girl when this happens, and she's basically like, her grandfather is dead, Edward's parents are dead, Caroline is dead. He is the only one.
Yep.
That can take her. And so he remains in England, helping establish the English Brotherhood. He then is eventually killed in a raid on the Kenway estate led by Reginald Birch.
Which we went into in depth on Reginald Birch's episode.
And Haytham Kenway's.
Yes, on both of them.
Yes. And this is important because next to the Auditore family, this is probably the biggest line of assassins that we have. So if you don't know, the Auditore family is Desmond's ancestors through his maternal line. The Kenway is his paternal line. So he fathers a long line of assassins / Templars. You can say it after I'm done with this because I know what you're thinking. So Haytham Kenway, obviously, Connor Kenway, Jennifer Scott, William Miles, and Desmond Miles.
What I was going to say is he starts a long line of really shitty dads.
I will say this, just in general. If Haytham had not been a Templar, he would have been a good dad.
I agree. And I think he tries in his Haytham way.
Yes.
But he fails
He
in
does.
that. And obviously we've discussed Edward is a piece of shit when it comes to his children or child. And don't even get me started on William. We won't have to get into it. We've done that already.
I mean, Desmond doesn't know, so we can't really fault him, but Desmond also has a son.
Yeah, it's not his. I don't blame if you don't know. I don't blame you. We can't hold that against you.
We can confirm that he never knew.
Yeah.
So
what about Connor? Do we know?
We don't know about his children,
but we know he had them. Obviously.
Yeah. So we just don't know. But I would assume that Connor. The thing about it is, I always say that Connor is one of the most unforgiving and brutal assassins, but he is not devoid of compassion. Connor begins with compassion, but once you've crossed the line where you don't have it.
Well, he's brutal and extreme to his enemies, but not to the people he loves. I mean, we see in the game he does have tenderness to his tribe's people and I don't know if it's his grandmother or whomever, the older woman. And,
the chief.
The chief lady.
Yeah. And he is very, he is not cruel or brutal when he has to kill his best friend.
Right.
And then the last thing with Legacy is you can visit the Kenway estate in AC Syndicate. There's a whole mission there as Evie. And Evie, assassin geeks out about it.
I mean, fair. I would too. Pretty cool.
So I do have some quotes to share. I want food that don't make me sick. I want walls that hold back the wind. I want a decent life. I want to pause here with this quote because this sums up what I was talking about. You notice he doesn't say, I want to provide this for you. He says, I want this.
And it's not, I want this for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard for me to understand and empathize with this point of view because I just don't it's just hard when you, especially for me, I was raised very communally, with my extended family. We all lived on the same street. And so it was never just a me. It was never just it was always us.
And I think this comes down to had Edward done things properly in a sense, maybe because Caroline's dad is a piece of shit. But maybe if he had done that and shown effort to I'm going to make myself better, here is my commit. I can't offer things now, but I offer to be kind and love your daughter, and I'll come work for you. I'll do whatever you need. I just want to marry him. There might have been a different story than the sneaking behind and doing all that.
Alternatively, her father may have just killed him.
That's true.
But I do think that the job portion, where Edward turns down the job offer, is kind of the end. That's the turning point where he's I don't want anything to do with Edward. I will do anything to get my daughter away from this man.
Yes. Another quote, in a world without gold, we might have been heroes. He says this to Edward Thatch, Blackbeard.
That's a great scene, though.
Yeah.
Because it's right before Blackbeard dies, isn't it?
Yeah. In a world without gold, we might have been heroes. Here's an interesting thing that he says to Edward Vane, which is one of the pirates who betrays them after he kills them. And I think this is really interesting, especially given what ideology he ends up subscribing to. Fucking hell. Is this my reward for believing the best about men? For thinking that a bilge rat like you could muster up some fucking sense once in a while. Maybe Benjamin Hornigold was right. Maybe the world does need men of ambition to stop the likes of you from mucking it all up. Does that not sound very Templar?
It does sound Templar, especially the last line about like, oh, well, we do need people of ambition to stop people like you. But also, I'm just like, two things. Number one, Edward, when have you ever believed the best in people?
Exactly.
Number two, like, it just is like, it's just rich to me. Like, you are saying this? Like, look in a fucking mirror, dude.
Right. And this is always interesting because, like, I feel for Ben Hornigold for a little bit because he is trying to survive. Like, the age of piracy is coming to an end. Like, the British Empire and the East India Trading Company are cracking down on piracy. They're hanging pirates, and the king has just offered basically, like, forfeit all your riches, you can have your life, and you can return to England and just be a regular citizen.
Right.
And that's the offer that the king has given. And Hornigold's like, let's take this. Like,
yeah, you would be a fool not
to. Let's be, and Thatch and Edward are like, no,
we've got to build our city.
Yeah, and it's a point of like, okay, you're at this point, again, it's like I said, you're childish. Yeah. You're childish about the way the world works, and that things will always work in your favor. And that's kind of like what Mary Read, James Kidd, tries to get to him is like, you are only in this for yourself, and it's not going to end up great for you.
And you're being delusional because you're not looking at the world around you. You're only in your little insulated community.
Yeah. Right. And like, it's a sense of like, at the end, it's very similar to the end of Les Mis, where it's like empty chairs at empty tables. All my friends are dead and gone.
Yep.
Because they are.
That's exactly what happens to Edward. He wakes up from that drunken stupor in like the last third of the game.
Yeah.
And everybody, all of his friends, they're all dead.
Mm-hmm. And so it just is ridiculous. And so here's a quote from him and Ben Hornigold. You threw in with the very kind we once hated. And Hornigold says, no, these Templars are different. I wish you could see that, but if you continue on your present course, you'll find you're the only one walking it, with gallows at its end. And Edward says, it may be, but now the world has one less snake in it, and that's enough for me.
It's rare that I find myself understanding the Templar side of things.
Right. And like, it's also so rich to me because, Edward, you have done nothing but betray and
backstab your way to the top. I don't understand why, and we can talk about this after we get through the quotes, but like, Edward, it almost becomes hypocritical. Like, why, how have you gotten this high horse?
Right. And it's like, you are so idealistic in this idea of freedom that you don't know, you're not willing to do the work it is to earn it, to really fight for it. And that's what Mary Read and I Tobai try to get to Edward, because they see this passion, they see this longing for freedom, and they see the makings of a good man. And that's also in the flashbacks what Caroline Scott is trying to get to Edward, to like not him goes like, you are a good person, like come and like just live our life together. And you know, this is a theme that comes up. I mean, you see this in Hamilton where, you know, Eliza is constantly saying like, look at where you are, look at where you started, like be thankful for the things that you have now and live your life and be present in your life rather than chasing these dreams that you're after. And like, Edward refuses to acknowledge that because all he can see is his own like shortcomings compared to other people.
Well, and I also think the comparison to Hamilton is apt because Hamilton flees from where Edward flees to.
Yes. And so, but Edward obviously grows a lot, and where Edward is at the end is not the same place that he is. It just is very unfortunate that a lot of people have to die
to get there. A lot of people have to die for his character growth.
Yes. So this is one of my favorite understandings, and just shows like his understanding of how he misinterprets the creed. So when he's going throughout the game and whatever, he's like, oh yeah, I'll be an assassin. Everything is permitted. Like, yeah, that's the world I want to live in. And Itabai's like, you don't understand the creed. And then so later in the game they have this, and he says, and what do you think of our creed, Itabai? And Edward says, it's hard to say, for if nothing is true, then why believe anything? And if everything is permitted, why not chase every desire? And Itabai says, why indeed? And Edward says, it might be that this idea is only the beginning of wisdom and not its final form.
I do love that end quote.
Yeah. And I think that that's a key of like understanding the assassins to a point of like understanding that nothing is true and everything is permitted is not a nihilistic or hedonistic view of that. It's an understanding that the world is lying to us and we have to fight for the truth. Also, we must do whatever it takes to ensure the freedom of mankind.
Yeah, and it's almost like a starting point, I want to say, like a starting point of like, we've got to get you here and then we can peel back the layers of the onion so that you can see the world as it really is.
Yes. And then Edward's final growth point, he says this to Lorenzo Torres, the main Templar. He says, you would see all of mankind corralled in a neatly furnished prison, safe and sober, yet dulled beyond reason and sapped of all spirit. So I, with everything I've seen and learned in these last years, I do believe the creed. And so that's Edward Kenway.
I have a lot of thought.
Mm-hmm. I think that Edward, it's one of those points of like, we don't get to see him truly make amends. Like, yes, he kills Roberts and he kills Lorenzo Torres, like, but we do not get to see where he ends up. We don't get to see how he actually makes amends for the assassins.
Right. And it's like, go ahead.
Because I didn't cover this, but he's the reason that he basically kills someone who's going to betray the assassins and then ends up delivering the intel that he does. Right. So like he causes a bunch of assassin hideouts to get discovered and in danger. He then goes and saves them, but he's the reason that they're like that. He's the reason that the Templars even have a hope of finding the observatory. So he is the cause of all this. So we don't get to see like how he as an assassin comes and like makes that up.
Yeah, it's almost like we get to see all of the screw ups and none of the redemption. Mm-hmm. And that's frustrating from a story perspective. But I just have issues with Edward because, like, I don't know. You have talked about how Caroline and some of the other characters in the story have said, like, oh, you're a good man. Like, I see that you're a good man. I know that you're a good man. I just need you to do this, or I just need you to be that. But for me, a person who consistently and constantly devalues the people around him, hurts the people around him, takes advantage of, betrays the people around him, that is not a good man. I think anybody can change. And I think Edward does change. But for most of the game, I think he's a bad person.
I definitely agree with that. I think he's an extremely selfish person for most of the game.
And I think extreme selfishness makes you a bad person. That's just me personally. Mm-hmm. But that's what I think.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. And I think that there are some moments of Hatham that he says, especially in his fight with Adewale in Assassin's Creed Rogue, where Adewale basically says, your father would be ashamed of what you've become.
Only because he's a Templar, though.
Yes. And Hatham's comeback to him is, I wasn't aware my father had a sense of shame. So maybe Edward didn't change that much. I mean, Edward could be, or not Edward, but Hatham could be, looking for that from a specific perspective. But like, Hatham isn't necessarily someone who bends the truth. He's someone who uses the truth at opportune times. So he won't outright lie to you, but he'll keep the truth until it's beneficial for him, for you to know the truth.
I think part of the hard thing is that we don't know. There's so much of Edward's story that we don't know after the game ends, right? And some of it we do know, but for me, I interpret that from Hatham as like, Edward was probably like, yes, while he may have been committed to the assassins, while he may have been working for and building up the assassins and his estate and all of that, he's not gonna change from the man we see in the game who loves a good party, who gets debaucherous. Like, he's still gonna be that. And so I feel like he's still gonna be materialistic and, you know, cares about money and fancy things. And so I feel like that's probably where more Hatham is coming from when he says that. But I think, just to kind of finish us out, like, people all the time, they love Edward. People in this fandom love him almost as much as they love Ezio. I see it all the time on the internet that Ezio and Edward are the top two assassins, top two protagonists. And I don't get it. I don't hate Edward. I don't think that he's a bad character. I think that he does make an interesting character, especially with his arc. I just wish we saw more of it. But to compare him to Ezio, to me, is like a cardinal sin, because, like, they're not even in the same realm.
And the truth of the matter is like, when we get this, like, Edward is not an assassin for most of the game.
Exactly. And that's another thing I have issues with. Like, all these people who, like, look back longingly on the old games and are like, oh, Black Flag was the best of the Assassin's games, and then they hate Odyssey. It's like the same game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I think that Edward makes a lot. I think the thing about it is that Edward is super charming. Like, and he's voiced by a really great voice actor.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Who does a lot of stuff. And his voice actor is also a very charming individual as an actor. And so I think that's part of it. And I think that Black Flag really expanded what Assassin's Creed could be, and so it holds that place. I find myself more drawn to the side characters of Black Flag than I am Edward himself. Like, I love Mary Reed. I love Blackbeard. I love Adewale.
Yep.
I love Roberts as a villain. Like, I love all of that. But Edward himself is more like, as I get older, I find myself like, you are so naive, and you could actually make a difference and change the world, but you are choosing to be selfish.
Yeah. I have to co-sign everything you said. And just, like, especially, like, you know, we've got a family, and it's hard for me to understand and get in the mindset of somebody who would walk out on their partner and their family in the way that he does, especially in the time period he does. So it's just hard for me to have empathy for him. Like, when he wakes up from his drunken stupor and he's upset and is, like, depressed, like, I don't feel bad for him. Like, these are the consequences of your own actions. I don't feel bad for you. Face them.
I definitely agree with that. And I think that, like, I am sad because these people had to die for this ambition. I think Mary Reed actually says that to him, like, how many people have to die for you chasing this dream?
Yeah. And like I said, I don't think Edward's a bad character. I don't even necessarily think he's badly written. I just want more. I'm sure we're going to get hate comments for not gushing over Edward, but that's okay. We can handle it.
Yeah, I like Edward as a character. I think he's a good protagonist. I just don't think he's necessarily a good person.
Or a good assassin.
Yeah, well, he's not an assassin for most of the game.
Right, fair. All right, well, thank you as always for doing the research. This was a good episode, and good to be, you know, talking about a protagonist again. Always fun. And so thank you all for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at ACLorecast.
If you have any lore questions or topics to unpack, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. Find us on patreon.com/Assassin's Creed Lorecast. The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode's description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, make sure you give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. And always remember, Assassins, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Want to live better? We've got a lot of work to do. Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live better now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live better now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.